Hey folks, we're back again, after a commercial break and a change of location. Have a look at this magnificent spot here. I mean, this is out in the Numbin Valley at the Gold Coast. Man, this is where the wedge-tails actually live. Magnificent spot. And I was talking to you before about eagles being masters of flight. Aerodynamic marvels they really are. Riders of the sky. So I want to talk a little bit more now about eagles and things like that. Think about this for a moment. I want to read from Isaiah in chapter 40, and it says in verse 28, "Have you not known, have you not heard, the everlasting God, the Lord, the creator of the ends of the earth, neither faints nor is he weary. His understanding is," it says here, unsearchable. That's what I wanted. He gives power to the weak. Think about that. The grace of God, he gives power to the weak. And those who have no might, he increases their strength. Even the youth shall faint and be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. But those who wait on the Lord, think about that. It says, shall renew their strength, and they'll mount up with wings as eagles. And they'll run and not be weary, and they'll walk and not faint. Think about that. Mount up with wings as eagles. Now, what does that mean? Well, think about it. A rider mounts a horse. The horse carries the rider. Is that right? Not the rider carrying the horse. And it's the same with the grace of God. It talks about mount up, not flap up like a crow. Mount up with wings as eagles. Out here in this country, the thermal currents. What happens is that warm air rises, and eagles understand the thermal currents. You see them riding on the very breath of God. Think about this again. As I say, warm air. In the Northern Territory where we used to live, in the early hours of the morning, before the ground temperatures warmed up, the only birds flying are the crows, the galahs, the flappers of the bird's kingdom. You've got to make it, all that effort. Come on, we can do this ourselves. A self-made man, whatever it is, and they flap up and away they go. But around, the eagle just sits out on those mountain tops up there and just watches and laughs. But about 9 o'clock, the ground temperature begins to rise, and the warm air begins to rise, the thermal currents, the breath of God. Pneuma in Greek and ruach in Hebrew, same word for spirit is same word for wind. And those ground temperatures, the thermal currents start to rise. The eagle just leaps off and locks those magnificent 7-foot wingspan, and he mounts and he rides the thermal currents. Higher and higher, up and away he goes until he's just a dot in the sky and looking up there and seeing those wedge-tail eagles. I love it. On the end of the eagle's wings are things like fingers that read the wind. They understand atmospheric pressure and wind currents, and they actually read the wind as they soar about. They can fly 6, 7, 8 hours, just without any effort at all, because they mount the wind. I love that. Back they come in the evening and they just land, and they haven't even raised a sweat. And they look over and there's the crows and the galahs, been flapping all day and got nowhere. Because the eagle understands and mount up with wings like eagles. Think about that. He rides the wind currents, and it's the same with us today. Our wings are grace and they're faith. We don't have to do it ourselves and make it work ourselves and try a bit harder. How do I make this work myself? It's effortless. Isn't that right? The grace of God is effortless. Think about that. I love that. In Proverbs chapter 30, there's a passage also that talks about, he says, Solomon, the man who's supposed to have the greatest wisdom apart from Jesus, he says, there's 3 things I don't understand. No, make it 4, he says. And he says, the way of the eagle in the air. I love that. There are thermal currents in the church. I don't know if you realize this. There's movings of the Spirit, thermal currents of the Holy Spirit. If we don't understand it, well, pastors usually do, musicians usually do, but if we don't understand the thermals, the moving of the Spirit, I've got messages ready and I'm about to get up and the Spirit of God will say, I don't want you to preach that, preach this, and so you just change your message. Or maybe the musicians get up and they've got their set songs, clingity-clang, dingity-dang, is that right, or whatever, and just cut the anointing, just kill, bang, shoot the Holy Spirit in the head. That's not what God wanted. If we listen to the moving of the Spirit, it's not by might, it's not by power, but by my Spirit, says the Word of God. And so think about that. let me just add, as those eagles begin to rise, the tormentors, the crows, the smaller birds, the dirty birds come up, and you often see them attacking and pulling on the eagle. And so what does the eagle do? He just rises higher and higher and higher until eventually those tormentors just drop away. I shared before, but I'm going to share it again. After we lost our house in Cyclone Tracy, and I remember sitting out on the front deck of the place where we were living, looking across Francis Bay, and here comes this storm. It's black and so thick you can reach out and touch it. Lightning striking the ground, so powerfully it's shaking the house that I'm sitting in. And I'm watching all these birds are running away. They're flying away to get away from the storm, and they're flying low to the ground to keep away from it. And you can hear their shrill cries as they try to escape the fury of the storm. And I just happened to look up, and here's this magnificent sea eagle. He's locked his wings, and he's flying in the exact opposite direction, right into the face of the storm. And he would hit that storm front, and he would use the force of the storm just to lift him, catapult him up. He's having the time of his life. You can hear his cries all across the water, the bay, as the others just bolt for cover. And I'm looking up, and I'm just enthralled. I'm captured. I'm identifying kindred spirit with this magnificent eagle, the only one that has the courage to take the storm on. And I hear the voice of God say, that's how you need to live your life. You can run like everybody else. You can bolt with a herd mentality, or you can use your wings of grace and faith and just rise up, mount up, and rise over that storm front. And that's what we need in these days. COVID-19, riots in the street. We desperately need, like eagles, to be able to mount up effortlessly and rise over those storms of life when the enemy comes against us. Man, I tell you can learn so much from eagles. Mount up with wings like eagles, not flap up like a crow. Anyway, so I just love eagles. And just have a look up here. Magnificent spot. There's caves up in here. Wedge-tails nesting up in here. Hey, I just love it. Just awesome birds. And aerodynamic marvels. Kings of the sky. I shared once before in Revelation also, where it talks about the four faces in Revelation chapter 4. It says the first had the face of a lion. The second had the face of an ox. The third had the face of a man. The fourth had the face of an eagle. And the significance, I believe, hey, lions are king of the wild beasts. Ox is king of the domestic animals. Man is ruler of the earth, king of the earth, but the eagle is king of the sky. He rules supreme in the heavenlies. And we need to mount up with wings like eagles. And we'll look at another sector, another part of the eagle next time.